Hi, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode dedicated to my favorite live albums. And today we are talking about this masterpiece, the Pointer Sisters live at the Opera House in San Francisco, an absolute jewel, a double album. I love the fact that live albums are double albums because you can really get a sense of an entire concert and you can really feel how the show evolves. And this show is just absolutely extraordinary by four unbelievably talented, very young women, because the Pointer Sisters were really early in their career. This is 1974. It was recorded April 21st, 1974 in San Francisco, and this is the original formation of the group. Bonnie, Anita, that's my mother's name, Ruth, and baby sister June, one of my favorite Pointer Sisters, but they're all my favorites. And it is just an unbelievable album. And this is before the Pointer Sisters became known to me anyway, because I'm a product of the mid 70s. So to me, the Pointer Sisters, I went crazy over the Pointer Sisters when I heard Fire, and then He's So Shy, and Could I Be Dreaming? And then of course, I'm So Excited, which really got me really excited, and I just absolutely fell madly in love with them at that time. And then I started buying the earlier albums, the jazz albums. Now this, believe it or not, is their third album, only their third album. They had the very first album, Yes We Can, and then That's a Plenty, and then went straight into this album, which is the live album. And it starts with an incredible opening number, 7 or 8 minutes of the most beautiful musical opening that you can imagine. And then the Pointer Sisters arrive on Salt Peanuts, which was one of their big hits, written by the great Dizzy Gillespie, the man with the trumpet and the huge cheeks. And then they sing one of their own recordings, one of their own writings, which is the Shaky Flat Blues, which was one of their early hits. Not a huge hit for them, but one of their hits. And then Fairy Tale, which was also penned by the Pointer Sisters, but which became their very first hit, but also their very first Grammy win for a country song. So that was quite a feat for the time, because the Pointer Sisters were not country singers, they were jazz singers, and they won a Grammy for that song, which is absolutely great. Then they jump into Cloudburst, where you can understand the amazing talent and synchronicity of the Pointer Sisters. When these four sisters sing together, it is in unison. They are one. They have such an amazing way of singing. Their voices just get together. They capture, they sing so fast, but at the same time, everything is just absolute precision. And they made one of their latest albums was Only Sisters Can Do That. And it's really something that you can say to yourself the whole time you're listening to this album. You have to be sisters, you have to be grown up together and raised together. Something which always amazed me on this album cover is that the front cover, you only have two of the sisters, and it is Bonnie and June. And then on the back cover, the back of the album, then you have Ruth and Anita. And I always was fascinated by this album cover as a kid, because I used to think I would never allow to be on the back. I would want to be on the front. But one of the reasons for that, apart from the fact that this is how they were set on the stage, is that the group was started as a duo by Bonnie and by June. So it's also a way of showing that the real genesis of the group is June and Bonnie, and they're on the front of the cover. Then the song Jada, sung and written by the Pointer Sisters, but sung in lead by Anita. And Jada is the name of Anita's daughter, who sadly passed away a few years ago. Then the song, which to me, if you buy, it's just for that one song, the whole album is worth buying, although the whole album is a masterpiece. It is Black Coffee, sung by the late, great Bonnie. The Pointer Sisters are only Ruth is alive today. Bonnie Pointer passed away quite recently, and she is an absolute genius. She left the group in 1978 to do a solo career, which really could have been, she really could have had a huge career. She went to Motown. Her husband was a producer at Motown, and Berry Gordy produced her first album with the hit song Heaven Must Have Sent You. And then she did a second album with the reprise of Sugar Pie Honey Bunch in the same way, in a disco version. But then it stopped for quite a while. But she had an amazing career because she is an unbelievable musician. She worked with so many artists and musicians, but she really could have been a huge solo superstar because the voice she has, and also the personality, because I used to always look for her at the Grammys because she always had the most incredible outfits. And here she sings Black Coffee, which is the classic jazz standard. It is the ultimate version. I mean, it's been sung by so many artists. Peggy Lee made it one of her standard hits, but the way that Bonnie Pointer is able to bring this room to a level of intimacy where you think she is by herself in her kitchen, walking the floor and looking out the window, and in between she drinks black coffee. It is so strong, so powerful, and so sad. There is such a height of melancholy in that song, and actually the way she ends the song, she doesn't really end it. It's just a lament, and she is brilliant. An absolute genius, and there's no other way to describe the way she sings that song. Then the Pointer Sisters returned all together with Let It Be Me, which is a song penned by Gilbert Bécaud. Cocorico. Gilbert Bécaud is a French artist, composer, an amazing musician, and you may know him perhaps for What Now My Love, which is a huge classic song. And he also penned a September song, which then became, in French, it's called C'est en septembre, but it became very famous when it was sung by Neil Diamond. Hands Up and then Wang Dang a Doodle is a medley, and very fun. And then they do another medley with That's a Plenty, which was one of their hit songs and the title track to their album, and Bei mir bist du schön, which was a very famous song sung by the Andrews Sisters. And the Andrews Sisters and the Pointer Sisters are very much alike in this era, because then the Pointer Sisters became this huge group as a trio, starting 1977 when they signed with the legendary producer Richard Perry, and their first hit, which was Fire, with that incredible album Energy. And this is when I began to adore the Pointer Sisters, and because they were the anti-Supremes, they all wore different outfits, different gowns, and they also dressed a lot with fashion designers. Then they had Bob Mackie, who designed for them, very much like the Supremes. So Then they go back with the incredible song Steam Heat, which was also one of their hits. And Steam Heat is also incredible because they do all the sounds of the noises that the steam heat does. And they're just, they're just absolutely brilliant jazz musicians. Then they sing Yes We Can, which was their very first hit on their very first album, where they began their thing was to wear 1940s and 1930s costume, and they actually began by borrowing clothes from that belonged to the women that went to church with them as little girls. And so they, all these women gave them their old 1940s dresses that they didn't wear anymore, and their hats and their suits. And that look was so phenomenal. And they end with Love in Them Their Hills, an amazing, amazing, amazing song. And this song they recorded on an album. They recorded it in a studio, but the live version is an absolute prowess because they cut the song in the middle. There is a break where each one of the sisters, Ruth, June, Anita, and Bonnie, do the voice, the sound, or the cry of a bird. And it continues on until they each one join in, and it lasts for several minutes before they end the song. And it is just absolutely mind-boggling the way they are able to keep that noise, that little boop, 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 and they never, ever, ever, ever stop. And you have to remember, this is at the end of the concert where they are exhausted after having sung for 2 hours. And it is just an absolute masterpiece, because to be able to sing this is one thing, but to be able to sing it live is a whole other story. And then they walk off the stage to tremendous applause and extraordinary music. And this is why I wanted to pay tribute to these incredible ladies. June, may she rest in peace. Bonnie, may she rest in peace. And Anita, may she rest in peace. And Ruth, who is luckily still with us and still singing and still going on strong and writing about us. And one last thing, I always say to you that I was in the concert and I saw them live, and this time I have the receipt because I have a picture right here. I'm in the left corner in the audience in Paris at the Rex Theatre when the Pointer Sisters came to sing in 1984 or 1985. They were promoting the album Contact, which was not out yet, and there is a video capture of this concert live in Paris, and I'm right there at the beginning of the concert, and it was a pretty exciting show to see. So I will see you next week for another live album, and thank you all. We are now 550 people who are part of this this community and who listen to all my babbling about all my stars. I'll see you next week for a new live album. Bye bye.